I'm Joanna. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to review 4 books today, 3 fiction, 1 nonfiction. My first novel is Murder at World's End by Montgomery. The year is 1910. The story opens with Halley's Comet, rapidly approaching Earth. This part of the novel is actually historically true. The world goes into a panic because everyone, or so many people, believe that this is going to be the end of the world. There is a Viscount who desperately believes this is going to be the end of the world. He lives remotely on an island in a manor in England, Cornwall, England, I believe. And you have to take a ferry to get to his manor. I think they call it a causeway in the book. The Viscount has about 150 servants living on the premises. He has several of his family members come and stay the night Halley's Comet is passing over. So the Viscount orders the staff to seal the guests and themselves in their rooms until morning. He believes that the only survivors in the world are going to be the people at his manor. However, come morning, the only person that is dead is the Viscount. So then the novel turns into a murder mystery. The main character in the story is Stephen. He's an ex-con. He gets hired on at the manor as a servant, and his task is to watch over Decima. Now, Decima is an 80-year-old woman. She's brilliant. She's demanding. She has extreme expectations, but I like her. Together, this unlikely pair work together as a team to solve the murder and eventually murders at the manor. The author is incredibly creative with his prose, inserting this pedantic vocabulary in italics in the narrative, and it's fun and it's funny. This is a murder mystery and historical fiction, but even if you're not a fan of this genre, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this novel. The author has written this novel so well, it is entertaining from the first page to the very end. I enjoyed this novel. I give it 5 stars, hands down. Novel number 2, Voyager by Meg Charlton. This is a sci-fi book, and so the 2 main characters is Anna and Alex. When they were 6 years old, their mothers decided that they needed a play date, so they arranged that. So the setting is somewhere in Palm Springs in the desert there. When the children meet on that very same day, they go missing. After 36 hours, they return home safely. They're pummeled with questions about where they were, naturally, about what happened to them during the time they were gone, but their memories are playing tricks on them. They are so young that they are having difficulty expressing themselves, and their stories aren't lining up. The children's disappearance becomes a huge mystery for everyone. They are offering all kinds of possibilities that could have happened to them. Kidnapping, possible molestation, alien abduction. The leading story shifts to an alien abduction, and that is orchestrated by a government official. Of course, this has a huge influence on Anna and Alex. It kind of, puts them in a spotlight, exploits them a little bit, and this impacts their relationship with each other, with their family members, mainly in a negative way. In other words, this childhood incident plays an intricate part of who they are and who they will become. The author creates this relationship between Anna and Alex in such an emotionally raw way. I mean, they're friends. They go beyond friends, but they're not lovers. They go their separate ways in life, but they are ultimately always connected. Back then, and I suppose it's the same today, there are 2 camps. Those who believe in extraterrestrial beings and those who don't. The problem for Anna and Alex is that most of society did not believe in aliens in the novel, and so Alex and Anna were looked upon as freaks in a way. But then, near the end of the novel, there is this worldwide signal throughout the globe, and everyone is ordered to prepare for a possible invasion of some kind. The story is told in the voice of Alex. from 6 years old all the way through adulthood. And he tells it fluidly. And I was so anxious, so very, very anxious to find out, what happens at the end. It is a slow burn, but such a human story. It visits so many emotional relationships, mothers, siblings, lovers, friendships, etc. Alien enthusiasts are going to devour this book. Lovely prose, too. I give this 5 stars. Novel number 3, Night Objects by Raphael. 15-year-old Lenny Winters is the main character in this novel, and the story is told in her voice. Early in the novel, we learn that Lenny suffers a huge loss in her life. This alters her world, and she is sent to a boarding school on a scholarship, and there she struggles to fit in amongst the most privileged students in the country. And then, weirdly, this small group of students tap, that is the word they use in the novel, her into this secret society club. She asks questions about their motives as to why they chose her to be in their club, but she's not willing to dig too deeply. She so desperately and so anxiously wants to be socially accepted and belong, etc. Very typical of adolescent behavior. But these students soon prove that they can be very cruel at times. Then one member of the secret society gets murdered. And then the story splits into timelines, before the murder and after the murder. The punch comes in the last few chapters, where we learn very sensitive information and circumstances surrounding the murder of the young boy. Oops, sorry. This is such a good literary fiction novel. This is not a young adult novel, but I believe they would rate this pretty high. The author gives us so much to think about in this novel. I thought about society's privileged kids. I thought about, personal dignity and tolerance. In other words, what average people are willing to put up with and how far they will stray from their personal values to conform, just to conform and fit in. Everyone has breaking points. The novel also touches on parenting and the importance of grieving. The author just packs in all of these emotions. One of the takeaways for me in this novel was good parenting, or the importance of, showing your children approval, giving them attention, tending to them, because so many issues from these students in this novel stemmed from lack of parental guidance or issues with their parents. So this is a fantastic read. I really liked it very much, and I give it 5 stars. Book number 4, my nonfiction book, Shining Star by Philip Bailey. I've always been a fan of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I cannot imagine being born with such a beautiful gift, of a voice. I wanted to know what it was like for Philip Bailey. So I read his book. It's an older book, but I think 2015 or so. So in the book, he talks about his humble beginnings. He talks about his personal life, his marriage, his children, etc. Then it moves on to how he met Maurice White, the leader of ETW. I was surprised to learn that Earth, Wind, and Fire was already Earth, Wind, and Fire prior to Philip Bailey. He talks about the transition of the band, went through quite a bit, and he sadly talked about the unfairness of the finances. Maurice White was the leader of the band, and there was a huge discrepancy in payouts. It's hard to read some of the things that the band members have to go through, and in the end we get this beautiful music. I'm a big fan of Maurice White as well, but for me, Earth, Wind, and Fire sound is defined by Philip Bailey. I still listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I never tire of Philip Bailey's falsetto. It's so beautiful. It's timeless music. And I give this book 4 stars.